on live, so that worked out well. Would have been awkward to start out with the burp. The top head camera for next month's reading won't be in clear view of the other camera. I will get a good visual system. I promise. It may even happen if you have another zodiac sign. We're going backwards, right? We're started from Pisces this month. So you have an earlier zodiac sign, you might even get a better experience. They've all kind of changed from day to day. We're going to be doing 3 of these a day. What up, Plan Alpha? I'm doing great. I was saying that you get wildly different experiences for zodiac signs this month, especially Capricorn. I was like beginning to get sick and then I was just gone for a day. I bring this up because we're going to be doing 3 of these a day. So they will conclude on the 30th of September. So they'll be out for patrons before. I did get your email. I meant to respond. Yeah, go Fins for sure. So yeah. Scorpio, you got a month. It's eclipse season, right? It's a month in a good way too. It's not a bad thing. It's a lot of you energy, Scorpio. So depending on where your placement is, sun, moon, rising, Venus, it's just going to be, look where those positions are. Now, some of this is going to be for Scorpio suns. Some of it is scorpionic energy in general. If you are a Scorpio sun, then happy birthday. If you have a month at the end of September, in October. So end of October. So there are 2 lunar eclipses, or 2 eclipses, I should say, 1 solar, 1 lunar. The first is in Libra, and it is a new moon, and it is a solar eclipse. We'll talk a little bit about that. The second is the full moon in Taurus in the 28th, right? And that is a lunar eclipse, okay? So that also will be in your sign. You also have Mars and Mercury going direct, or rather not direct, into your sign, and Pluto, your ruling planet, going direct. I was thrown off today because it said Mars also rules Pluto, which I got to look more into that. I was unaware that that is a planet that rules it. I always thought it was just Pluto, but maybe when they got rid of Pluto, they put Mars. I don't know what happened there. I know Mars rules Aries, and they all correspond. Venus does have 2, but nevertheless. But Mars and Mercury are both moving into Scorpio, and you have Pluto going direct, okay? So it's just a lot of scorpionic energy, right? Change, transformation, surrender, letting go, processing. Mercury's presence there is certainly going to affect how you view yourself, how you communicate with yourself, how you communicate with other people, and how you let these processes evolve as you relate to different versions of yourself, as you move through different states, right? Overall, though, like a very positive month filled with possibilities and opportunities. It's a cool month for you, Scorpio. Of all of the signs, you're going to have like the most compressed energy in that area, right? So whatever Scorpio you are, look where it is, because in the actual sign of Scorpio in the sky, there's going to be a lot of activity. So that's cool. It's good to stay as grounded as possible for your goals is too. That's not to temper the spirit in any way, but you want to make sure you really believe and you really feel like this is something that's attainable. That's more important than the size of the goal. Does that make sense? Size can be humongous. I'm not in any way saying don't shoot for the hills, but be very clear about what your intention is and how you can kind of achieve that. And you should see very positive results. Patience and persistence, good qualities to have. We'll see what comes up in the cards. We'll be doing a Celtic Cross today, a 10-card spread. And we'll pull some of the Oracle cards for that. And then here's the main questions, right? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Getting those answers from other people who are in your life, friends, lovers, mentors, masters, gurus, guiders, whatever you want to call them. Doesn't have to be that heavy of a word either, not bad to like actually explicitly ask for advice. A lot of times, support systems, friend groups, family members, people we consider, wise. It's not, there's no shame in asking what their opinion is on something. You don't have to make it directly related to you, even. It's just like, what do you think about that? It's not the worst idea, right? They're in your life reflecting back something for a reason. So you've probably spent the last year in a lot of ways playing out the scorpionic patterns, but that means like honest conversations that build trust. Scorpios get a bad rap for being aloof and kind of like not engaging with people. But once a Scorpio, it's a water sign. Like once the trust is built in those arenas, like it's you Scorpios are awesome, right? There's a very good, nice, curious, mystical qualities to Scorpio. There's a lot of change over in Scorpio, so I think that throws a lot of people off. But absolutely prepare to feel bursts of energy and passion kind of coursing through you for the next month and a half or so, at least. You just get this positive boost in October, leading into November as well. Just get clear about what you really want and ask for it. It's likely to come to you with greater ease, especially once Pluto ends its retrograde in Capricorn on the 10th, right? So that's when it goes direct. So just remember that is a very positive forward energy. And Pluto going backwards in Capricorn, just to be clear, like that's 10th house stuff. That's, career, how you fit into the world, how you make money, how you view yourself, how other people view you. It's a lot of that. So that energy is going to be a big old shift for you. And then if you're pushing people away, like if you've been doing that, which is fine, like it's okay sometimes to create boundaries. The 23rd, when Scorpio season kicks off, you're probably going to feel a lot of this energy to kind of reconnect with those people. And that's like why Scorpios sometimes get bad, situations going, because not situations, but perceptions of them, because like sometimes you just need the time to do your shit, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, let's pull some cards. But yeah, that's a lot of scorpionic energy. So even if you're not a Scorpio, I mean, the placements of Scorpio are definitely going to be relatively important. All right, I think that's enough shuffling. Okay, Celtic Cross. Temperance, present situation, temperance, balance, finding emotional balance. We have this card come up reversed in the future position for Sagittarius. So this is always nice to see. Your current situation is one of balance, right? Balancing the emotional with the rational, the intuitive with the logical. That's good stuff. It leads to a very nice situation if the balance is maintained. Let's look at the challenge. Wow, it doesn't get more Scorpio than that. So the moon reversed is like inner. Look, you even see the Scorpio, like you see the little lobster guy. That's why I say doesn't get much more Scorpio than that. It's literally on the card. It's inner emotional worlds kind of being, you got to turn some emotions over. Like, here's the deal. Melancholy, sadness, grief, there's a spectrum of what we would refer to in those types of emotions. To try to avoid them in this life can appear to be one of men. Like a lot of people have that problem. Oh, everything isn't perfect all the time. There's some element of disappointment. You can see it early with kids. Like there's an element of like, oh, I want this to be that way and it's not that way right now. Maybe they cry, maybe they don't. It's the same with everyone forever. So what does that mean? How do you relate to those feelings and situations? What are you going to do about that to kind of establish some type of synergy with that spectrum of feelings? Some might call it shadow sides or whatever it is. The challenge there is like, right, it's kind of your normal balance and being able to put things into their own places is being challenged by like that question, right? Okay. Past, it's a very Libran card, by the way. 6 of Pentacles. We see the scales, of course. So like a sense of fairness, justice, being able to honor different aspects of your like priorities, right? There's going to be sometimes a conflict there, maybe even between the emotional and the intellectual aspects of yourself. And this has probably been like trying to find your balance, is the way I would describe it, right? In the past. Transition time makes a lot of sense. I do feel like, Scorpio, if you hit the right wave this month towards the second part of the month, in October, you will be in good shape to get through a transition pretty easily. Like, you'll have the wind at your back, your sails are hitting it, put your sails up, you're good to go. Granted, this guy's got a oar, like, you know, Venusian paddle oar thing, but you'll be fine. Like, it is going to be a smooth a transition nonetheless. But for Scorpio, that's not that big of a deal. That's like one of their superpowers, one of your superpowers, right? I'm a Scorpio rising in tropical, so I get the vibe. I think a Scorpio moon also in Vedic, sidereal. Conscious mind, Knight of Swords, a Knight of Cups, I mean. So the conscious mind might not, like, you might not be aware of the emotional stability you probably have. And it may feel like you're not ready to kind of make a transition, maybe because your emotions are clouding that, and just kind of overwhelming your what you feel to be the right way, or not what you feel, what you think to be the right way. And that's cool. At least you're aware of your emotions at that point. It's not the worst. Don't worry about it. Magician reverse. And so, yeah, on the subconscious level, there is some degree of just like not fully being sure that this is something you want to engage in terms of like a transitional standpoint. I can almost tell you what we'll see in these next few cards, but I think it's inevitable that it happens. It's just like the confidence you can have that you're doing the right thing is pretty important. Yeah, there we go. Right. So advice here is the Chariot. It's the same if we look back at the current situation, right? Temperance, similar type of energy there between the Chariot and Temperance. It's balance. It's balancing both the shadow and the light, right? And if you look at the dude in it, he's got the moon crescents, right? That's always nice. But more importantly, these sphinxes aren't going in the same direction. If you look at what is going on here, if the Chariot is being pulled, right, it's for movement outside of the castle, I'll point out, so outside of the realm of where you started. But if the Chariot is going in two different directions, it requires the charioteer to have some semblance of awareness of how to get to where they are going by like controlling the reins, right? Letting these things, it's not just one side or the other. So the advice really is to kind of own that scorpionic existence. I think the Chariot is actually related to the Cancer portion of the zodiac. Nevertheless, Scorpio, I think, very important there too. Just this ability to kind of guide both of those energies in a direction that makes sense. Look at that. External events also relatively harmonious. This is what I mean. Like, there is this situation going on here, maybe even present, but for October, it is going to be a pretty positive, like, joining of the masculine and the feminine, right? We love the Four of Wands, right? It's just a good card. So, and that's what the external, by the way, sorry, that's what the external situation will look like around you. Again, I was talking about it on the podcast. You can't expect to see something awesome out there before you make the internal change that you believe it, right? Going back to the mirror analogy, you can't expect the mirror to smile back at you and go, oh, see, the mirror smiled, so now it's a good time. And that's how you want to think of the external world. So when you make the internal shift, when you do that and you look out in the world, you can expect to see that at some point. I think you should be seeing that in October. Hopes and fears, Empress. This is probably related to the conscious, subconscious energies that are going on. Hopes and fears is like, you know what? This is for the best of everyone. We can see Venus there. We can see the best, you know, everyone coming together and loving this. But what if that doesn't happen? The fear of that that it won't happen, that you'll fail somehow, or you won't succeed, that may still be present and in your consciousness. Obviously, to flip that, it's not the hardest thing in the world. And then a lovely outcome card, the Two of Wands, right? Really gazing into the future, seeing what you want to paint on the future, right? Which doesn't really exist. The past, they exist, but I mean, it's how do you tap and move through that reality, that timeline, whatever you want to call it. Two of Wands, outcome. Feels right to me. There's probably some emotional, I mean, it could be abandonment stuff. It could be codependent stuff. It could be avoidance. It could be those types of issues that are kind of not clouding your ability to effectively do things, because I don't think that's actually true, but those are like the issues that are probably going to be felt if consciously and like subconsciously that's driving it on. But the reversal in the hopes and fears does not imply like one or the other will be happening. It's like everything is a polarity, right? And that theme, when those polarities are put together in full and that whole spectrum is created, right? That's what you're dealing with. You can move through any point of that, orb of spectrum, orb, whatever it is, in any direction. It's not to imply one is better than the other. And that's a big part of kind of what, understanding your actions and how you want to live and what you want to kind of do in your life to make it as pleasant of a place for the people you care about. I mean, primarily the relationship. Like I just think that's naturally where it goes to for most people. Like if you recognize you have that ability. So of course, imagining or praying or whatever, however you do it, however you define it for other people, like it's like the mirror is still, this stuff is still reflecting back. Do you know what I mean? When you look in a mirror, what this world is reflected back. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist fully, but you can't expect it to move before you. It would be very trippy. I'm sure there's many dimensions and aspects of consciousness where it moves before you. It's probably really freaks you out. It's probably a reason we don't live there. Let's pull some threads of fate. But yeah, I mean, listen, we'll talk about them a little bit. The new moon in Libra with the solar eclipse on the 14th of October is definitely a great time to like really think about what you want your immediate but short-term to medium-term goals to be accomplished. You also have, like I said, Mercury and Mars moving into Scorpio, along with the sun, of course. That's a lot of energy there. I think you should be feeling bursts of that. Don't, set your sights too short there. And then on the full moon in Taurus, that's where that transition probably takes place in the future with that Six of Swords there. So just look for that. And like chaotic good. Think of like that scale, right? Chaotic neutral, lawful good, whatever that scale is. It's like chaotic good energy. Okay. The pillar. There are now 3 clear energetic validators of this balance and stability, right? Between Temperance, the Chariot, and now the pillar. It's like building a solid foundation upon like being aware and witnessing all. Not just what you necessarily want to see, but being able to witness it all and like also maintain faith that what you believe to be true will work. It does feel like soul work. It is soul work, right? It is kind of working through issues that maybe transcend your current situation. Maybe these are either, I don't think ancestral, could be ancestral, but just like thematically things you as a soul may be processing or have to process. That's ultimately the realm that we're in. And then the Magi, another great card for Scorpio. Cool spider. Right, you're going to create, and the crescent moon there, the eclipse, right? That would be the lunar eclipse. So, a good time at the end of the month there to really harness that magic that you possess and like cast some cool spells out in the world. I think you know how to do it at this point. And then we'll do some animal oracle to end it. These have ended up being this format. I'm seeing between like 25, 35 minutes. So that's what we'll do. We're not going to force it. I talk fast too. If I talked half speed, that's what I should do. I should record these and then like just do half speed and then have double the thing. But who wants to do it? I'm trying to get through this stuff. Who's got an hour these days? You know what I mean? Time is compressing. Okay, Animal Oracle. Horse spirit. You don't see her, but you love her. Freedom is yours. We love the horse spirit. Who doesn't love the horse around? You know what I'm saying? Squirrel spirit. Believe in yourself, which is always a great message for you, Scorpio, whatever that is, regardless of your ability to identify as one thing or another, which probably transitions quite a bit. Owl spirit. You see clearly now. Can we see clearly on this card camera? Can you do that? Ah, there it is. Owl spirit. You see clearly now. I think that came up before, I want to say for Capricorn. You know, having that wisdom. 43 for the owl, by the way, number 57 for the squirrel, and 33 for horse spirit. That's why we like horse spirit. That's one of the reasons. 43 for the owl, 7, mastery. So in the realms of kind of like mastering what's going on, refining your ability to live a life that is fulfilling, meaningful, regardless of situation, regardless of circumstances, but obviously endeavoring for more harmonious experiences as you go through cycles, which I think you can check out in your life. You can be like, you know what? Do I feel like I have more awareness? Do I feel, you don't have to feel at your happiest at the peak, but are you kind of making upward momentum in terms of like realization? And is your life reflecting that outwardly? You can judge that. It's not impossible to judge, right? So again, a really good month. There's a ton of energy. Like I said, Scorpio at the beginning, just a lot of stuff moving around Scorpio. And you just got to be aware of how to kind of recognize that transitional karmic transmutation type of energy. It looks like the clear direction here is also balance, like really focusing on how to balance energies. And one of the ways that you balance energies is by being aware of the spectrum or polarities of energy, right? There's not one is better or the worse, but what balance would you like those to have, right? Also, it could be very much the balance between your conscious and subconscious mind, how are they playing in harmony with each other? How can you use them to kind of birth a new reality into this world by putting those together? That's why personally, I do like the techniques, but I think at the end of the day, that's like summoning forth a dimensional version of reality, which is very effective. But overall, it's like, how do you also freestyle in reality by like holding a frequency and vibration without necessarily have to doing it in a state akin to sleep? Or, you know, we're trying to basically hack the Neville Goddard method to make it just a part of reality rather than necessarily having to utilize this technique. It's great to get you out of a jam, but how do you step into a more empowered version of yourself, I think is a theme thematically that a lot of Scorpios will be dealing with, talking about, existing. But yeah. Also, good point, Alpha. You can go back and watch these as patrons. All right. Anything else? Let's see. Anything else? We'll pull one of these. Vulnerability too, and that feels like this Empress energy, hopes and fears energy, kind of repeated. What that means is you do have to be vulnerable. There is that surrender aspect that's very Scorpionic, that's critical for rejuvenation. You know, think Phoenix energy, rebirth, that type of stuff. Very Scorpionic, right? So pretty good stuff there. I think you'll be dealing with those themes pretty effectively. Like I said, it's going to be got a good boost here for at least a month and a half, 2 months of like solid energy, good vibes. I think you're going to be able to do it pretty well. All right, Scorps, I will be back later today, this evening, something like that, with Libra.